I'm a believer, a family man, and a racer at heart. And now, I'm going to bring it all together in one place. Welcome to FastFaith, the podcast where passion meets purpose and speed meets the spirit. From the tight, unforgiving turns at the bull ring known as the Madhouse, to the high-stakes, high-bank turns of Daytona and Talladega, I'm sitting down with the drivers who live it, breathe it, and bring that heat in every lap. So buckle in, fire it up. The lights are off and we're coming to the green flag. Get ready to smash that gas. This is Fast Faith.
Drivers, start your engines. Today's episode of Fast Faith was filmed on location at the iconic Petty Museum in Randleman, North Carolina, a place built on racing legacy. But today, it's not about the horsepower and history. I'm sitting down today with Thad Moffitt, a young driver blazing his own trail. He may carry the weight of a famous racing family, but it's his faith that drives him the most. Enjoy the interview.
Welcome to Fast Faith, where speed meets the spirit. I'm your host, Michael Weiser, and today I'm honored to sit down with someone who is part of racing royalty, part of the royal family of NASCAR, I guess you could say, but is craving to pave out a legacy of his own, to make his own path in the sport. While he may not carry the Petty last name, it's a heritage that runs deep in his veins and in his body. But what we want to do today is we want to allow Thad Moffitt to share about his faith, share about his family, and then just tell us who Thad Moffitt is. A lot of people know him as Richard Petty's grandson, but there's more to Thad Moffitt than just that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? Because there's a lot of pressure that comes with being in this family and trying to race. There was 12 grandkids and only two of us really race, at least at the national level. And my brother tried a little bit, and Austin, my cousin, raced a little bit too. And so there's more of us that have tried it. I guess just two of us kind of stuck with it and hung in there and tried to make it to the top level. But there is an immense amount of pressure that comes with it. But I don't feel a ton of it because I've always been, I guess I've always been Richard Petty's grandson. Like I don't really know any different. I don't know how else to say it better, but it's just one of those things that you were kind of born into and the legacy you were born into. And I think more pressure I put on myself is just to uphold the legacy and try to continue it on for generations and generations to come.
Yeah, wow. So, Thad, you're a Moffitt by name, but like we talked about, you're a Petty by blood, and that kind of brings the history, the legacy, things like that. But as somebody that's in the competitive world of racing, you have to want to be able to kind of forge your own path. And then watching your career from late models and ARCA, Trans Am Series, trucks, back to ARCA again, it seems to me as if you have a lot of determination to forge your own path and to kind of make your own stamp on the sport. And I feel like you have to kind of draw a lot of your strength from faith.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This sport is very humbling all the time. And you're in the spotlight and things are tough. They've been tough for me throughout my career for sure, with the truck deal last year and then with the funding slipping out from under me this year, as good as we've run, so there's only one person that you can go to and really ask for help and it changes anything in my opinion, and that's God. So as much time as I can spend at church or talking to him, at the racetrack at chapel, we have a great chaplain in the ARCA Series, and so just as much time as I can spend talking to him, it just makes me feel better. And obviously, he's put me in this position for a reason, so I can't really question it. Even though
Right.
sometimes you want to, you're like, man, I've worked so hard, I keep working so hard. Why do I keep ending up in these crappy situations?
Right.
So, but you can't question it. That's something I learned. We recently lost my grandmother, and it's just one of those things. You can either cherish the time that you had with her, or you can be mad about the time that you're not going to get with her.
Yeah.
And so I think that just looking to him really brings light to my life. And then I have a great partner, my fiance, Lauren, that is also grounded in her faith, and so that also helps living in a household where both of us kind of have similar beliefs, and just going from there.
Yeah. So I remember when I talked to you on the phone, um, you just mentioned you just recently lost your grandmother, but it was like the same day as Talladega or
Day
the same
after,
weekend.
yeah.
Yeah. So can you kind of go through the emotions and the maybe leaning on your faith of being so close to like the biggest win of your career to this point, and then also having that kind of taken away because of the rules and the caution falling the way it did, but then also finding out that somebody that had so much meaning to you had also passed on. Like you got to really lean on your faith for something like that
Oh
to
yeah, for sure. I think that was definitely a point in this year and in my career where it was like a lot of questions I had for God, but you can't, like I just said, you can't question him. It's just one of those things where you just kind of have to accept it. At the time, the failure in the race, or not the failure, the defeat, we finished second, and I thought we had won it, and it kind of got, I feel like, took away from us,
right. Yeah.
and so that was very unfortunate at the time. But then he blessed me. Like, how many people get to race at Talladega in their life?
Oh
Not
yeah.
very many,
Yeah.
So it's a blessing that I even got to participate in a race. I'm so blessed to even be there and everything. But then, like you said, we woke up the next morning after almost winning, and we got the call that my grandmother had passed away, and so it was just one of those things. You wish you were home, but you couldn't be home yet. So because you just raced the night before, so um, just very unfortunate, I guess. But it's it's just one of those things you still have questions about. I still
Yeah.
have questions about it. Like she was a wonderful lady, and at the time I saw her the Tuesday before I left for Talladega, I thought that was the happiest and healthiest I'd seen her in a long time. So at least that was my last memory of her. It
Right.
wasn't laying in a hospital bed, but I was very grateful for the time I got with my grandmother and both my grandmothers. My other grandmother was wonderful as well. Richard's late wife, Linda,
Right.
was fantastic, and I couldn't ask for two better grandmothers to grow up with, especially with a family that travels as much as my family does.
Oh
I
yeah.
spent a ton of time with my grandmas. Not so much with my grandpa because he traveled just as much,
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's
but
one
I
of
get
the
to spend a
only
lot.
people that can retire and still stay as busy as he
Yeah,
does.
yeah, but I get to spend a lot of time with him now, which is great. Just getting to kind of learn more about him as a person in his later stages in life, and as I get older and start to understand a little bit more, I really cherish these moments with him.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the family and the legacy, you talked about the pressure, things like that. When you slip that helmet on though, and climb into that car and fire that engine up, you're just Thad Moffitt. You're just Thad Moffitt. The only thing you have inside that car with you is the spirit of the Lord with you. So when you're going through races and you're kind of going through that, how much do you kind of lean into the faith that you have while behind the wheel?
Yeah, it's something I ask every week. I have a prayer that I ask God just to help me, just to keep me and all my competitors safe. Because it is a dangerous sport. It still is. I mean, people still get hurt. They still break bones. We haven't had any deaths
Right.
recently,
Yeah.
right? But it is still a dangerous sport. So it's just Without him, I feel like it would be a lot more dangerous, that I would be a lot more on edge. But I feel like when I'm in the car, I'm exactly where God wants me to be,
That's awesome.
and so I think that I just get to kind of shut everything off and talk to my crew chief and my spotter and kind of just live in my own little bubble inside of the race car for a little bit. And man, you can't beat it. I love it. I live for it. That's why I keep doing it. That's why I keep getting back up every time we get kicked down, because I just don't know what else I would do. This is what I live for. This is what I love.
Yeah. So when you're, I mean, you've kind of gone through a lot of ups and downs to be, what, 24?
Yes.
So 24, what, 25 later this year, I
Yes,
believe.
sir.
So you've gone through a lot of ups and downs because you've been racing probably since you could reach the pedals. I mean,
Right.
I know you've been racing at least, but I know of keeping up with you since like 2016 or something like
Right.
that. So you've gone through, you had the deal with Empire for a while, then you kind of did different stuff, and then you were with the Trans Am series, or the Trans Am series with the TA2 car. Then you had the truck series. That deal did not work out the way that all of us fans and, of course, you and your family had hoped it would. And this year you've got the Nitro Motorsports deal. Still a great deal going on, but you have a sponsor have to back out for financial reasons. And so now you're going to just part time. How much of your faith do you lean on to continue to ask God to give you opportunities to do what you love? Like how often is there? I mean, I'm sure there's times where you feel like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, or I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening. Why am I
Yeah.
not being able to
That's
do
another
this?
thing, man. I mean, it's like when when we do get up to heaven one day, right? We're gonna have like a million questions, but I don't know that I'll ever even want to ask them, right? Because He's put me in these positions for a reason. I think that He does everything for a reason and with intent. Um, and I think that's why I ended up back in the ARCA car and in the best situation I've been in a long time this year. We're really competitive. I'm getting the most support from a manufacturer that I've ever had in my
Yeah,
career. I've learned more about myself as a person and a driver this year and being part of the Toyota program. So I think it's just a lot of things that kind of add up. And it all comes back to the same person. Like you keep asking the question, it all comes back to your faith in God and why things happen. And I mean, it's really just what you believe. You can believe whatever you want, but I think that there's a greater power and it's God, and that's why everything happens for a reason.
yeah,
So, yeah, there's definitely been some trials and tribulations over the course of my career, and it hasn't been the smoothest sailing. But I wouldn't. I say I wouldn't go back and change it, but I might. I wish I could go back and change some things. Um, but again, I think that everything. I mean, like I got to go Trans Am racing and do something that nobody in my family's ever done
yeah,
because of it. So that was really cool. Learning how to road course race and working with a great group with Scott Legacy and those guys, and met a bunch of friends that I'll have for my entire life, just from that 1 year of experience that I got, that I felt helped me grow immensely as a driver. And then I came back to the truck, and it was just compounding issue after compounding issue, and then it was, we're not going to do this anymore. And it was very unfortunate for me because all I wanted to do was drive race cars every week,
right,
and
yeah,
so um, I think that was probably my lowest, is like when they shut down the truck deal. Um, this deal this year is just so hard to be mad at because we've run 6 races and I feel like we've had a shot to win 4 of them.
yeah,
Like I mean, we've been up front, we've been fast. Every time we've been together as a group, we've been really fast. It stinks that we can't run them all, but I'm really hanging on to the ones that we have left. I
right,
want to focus on the part-time schedule and just go try and win, and just that's the only goal we really have, is to try and win those races and um, get set up for 2026 and hopefully get in a better situation for once
yeah,
and be able to do whatever we need to do to gain the most experience and get ourselves ready for the next level.
yeah. That's good. So I think this is a fan question as well, but it was in my notes. and I feel like if I don't ask it, then I won't make people that might watch this happy. What's one thing other than racing that your grandpa Richard has taught you? Or something in life that just really stands out. I mean, that's
The biggest thing is like just how you treat people, you know, like it comes back to family and faith and everything that you and this podcast is about, which is why I agreed to do it. But I think that like whether you're the janitor at the school or the president of Apple, Richard Petty's going to treat you the exact same.
yeah,
Because that's just how he is, you know, and that's how we all strive to be all the time. And he's always been like that, just because that's how he was raised. That's how we were raised. You know, it's like the golden rule my mom says: treat people how you want to be treated.
right.
And if you believe in karma or any of that stuff, you know, just be kind to others and love your neighbor as thyself. That
Right.
that type of deal.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
it's all that. That's probably the biggest thing outside of racing that he's ever taught me is just be a good person, man. Just treat people how you want to be treated and take care of yourself and take care of others, and it'll all come around
yeah.
at the end.
That's something I don't think you ever hear somebody in the motorsports world say is, I don't like Richard Petty. Like, if somebody says I don't like Richard Petty, I don't think
Then they were a
I don't
really
think they've
big
ever met the
Earnhardt
man.
fan.
Yeah, that were an Earnhardt fan.
They
Yeah.
were.
They were an Earnhardt fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I honestly I don't. I mean, obviously I don't interact with him the same way that you do, but I've met him maybe 4 times, a couple times at a track, one time at a signing. He was like 3. We have an amazing picture of him with your grandpa where it really is like seeing your hero the way the picture was taken. I'll show it to you later, but it's your 6 foot something grandpa,
Yeah.
and he was like 3 at the time, so he's like right here, and he's just looking up at him holding this car for him to sign, and it's just like a beautiful picture, and it was you know just really cool experience, I know, for him and for me to see him never even seen his your grandpa race, just seeing how excited he was to meet him.
Yeah.
He's seen him from the cars and stuff like that and the movies and things, but he's never actually seen him race. So to see how excited he was to see him, and then your grandpa was just like, "Let me see your car, buddy." He just signs it, and he's like, he was wearing a hat, and he pushes his hat down, and he just signs the top of his hat,
Yeah.
and he's just like, that's so cool. So, um, somebody says they don't like Richard Petty, I don't think they've ever met Richard Petty.
Right.
uh, but yeah, I mean, he does just treat people amazingly, and from everything I can tell just from watching you and how you carry yourself at the track and how you carry yourself around the media and things like that, that you definitely have absorbed those lessons and those life lessons that he's taught you, not just about racing but in life as well.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
that's good.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. um how do you honor the legacy of your family but still try to be that? Like, you've got all these pressures of who
Yeah.
you are, who your family is, but you've also got to just want to be Thad Moffitt.
Right.
You've got to want to be your own person. So how do you kind of honor the legacy of the family and what the family means and the name in the racing world, but then still just be Thad? Like,
Yeah.
how do you kind of balance those things?
I think it's a delicate balance, right? But I mean, it's really not that hard because we all had the same passion. We all strive for the same things. Like I was just going into. I mean, even bigger than the 200 wins and the 7 championships, and then my great grandfather's 3 more, and Kyle's wins, and I mean, the Petty family has a ton of wins, right? So like outside of all that junk, they they just are good people,
Right.
right? So that's more the legacy to me
Yeah.
than it is what they did on the racetrack. Now, I'm not taking any credit away from what they
Right.
did on the
Yeah.
racetrack because it's phenomenal and it will never be reached again, and it's just incredible what they were able to achieve. But just how they treat people and how they carry themselves and how they stay grounded in their faith. I mean, we still, for Christmas and Easter every year, we all go to grandmother's church, and she has been passed away for 11 years, and that's just what the Petty family's done
Right.
forever, and my grandpa still goes up there, and that's just how they've always always been. And I think that's more, to me, the legacy than what they were able to accomplish on the track. So for me, if I can kind of follow suit with what the family's done to this point, and hopefully get to a point in my career where I get in a good situation and I can win races and championships and compete full time. I mean, with the exception of Trans Am, last time I ran a full season of anything was like 2016 when I won the championship in late models.
Right.
So like I've got like 2 full seasons, and I finished 7th at Trans Am points and won the championship in the Southeast Limited deal.
Yeah.
So I would love to just compete full time in something again and try and chase a championship and points race and be a little smarter and not take risk. It's just a different type of racing when you're racing week to week. So if I could do that and start to tally up some wins, I think that's honoring the family legacy pretty well.
Yeah.
But for me, being Thad is just kind of being that same figure. I don't think that there's much difference between what he does every day and what I do every day.
Right.
I mean, it's like the thing, we all have similar interests. We all we all have big families and are really grounded in our families and our faith, and we like to race and we like high adrenaline stuff. Me and him both hate heights. Our favorite desserts are ice cream. Like, there's not a whole lot different, but I do want to still be Thad. Like you said, I don't want to always be Richard Petty's grandson.
Yeah.
I want to be known as Thad Moffitt. I want the articles to change one day
Right.
from Richard Petty's grandson to Thad Moffitt, and then in the article somewhere it says Richard Petty's grandson. So.
Yeah, in parentheses afterwards. Yeah. That's good. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is, not only just to kind of hear your story and your journey, but you, and it's kind of the same as your grandfather was and everybody else. You carry yourself in like a calm, collected kind of demeanor, and like I talked about with one of the other drivers that I interviewed, sometimes we don't have to like yell from a pulpit or preach our faith or like scream it out on the rooftops. I mean, we're called to be disciples and to spread the gospel, but there's ways that we can do that quietly, carry ourselves with good character, carry ourselves with a calm demeanor, and I feel like you definitely have that. And so how would you describe your walk with God right now these days? Like how are you, like, are you kind of stuck? Are you growing? Are you kind of just really solid already? Like a good foundation? I mean, we're always growing in our walk with
Yeah,
God.
I was going to say, I feel like we're always growing. There's always room for growth. I do feel solid in it. And there was a point in my career, like 2 or 3 years ago, when the first truck deal messed up, and then I didn't know if I was going to race a car again.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of like a hill. It was up and down and up and down, and a lot of questions and a lot of back and forth, and then it was just a point where I was like, I got to lean into this, and it just kind of took off from there. And like I said, my fiance and I are members at the Vintage Church here in Randleman, and we go as much as we can when we're not at a racetrack.
Right.
And we even went over there for their premarital counseling stuff. So trying to grow and just participate as much as I can, just get as close as I can to God. I'm not a preacher by any means.
Right.
I'm a race car driver by trade, right? Like, but I do try to encourage friends to go, encourage family to go, just learn more about God, hear what he has to say in a safe place where you're not judged, and everything is pulling in the same direction, you know. So my walk with God, I feel like I'm feeling pretty solid right now, and continuing to grow. It's not like it was up and down. It's kind of more steady,
kind of maturing, kind of understanding more,
right?
And taking those those opportunities and cherishing those opportunities. You know,
Right.
like you talked about with the Talladega thing. Like, hey, I thought I won, I didn't win, but I got to drive at Talladega. You know,
Yeah.
I got to almost win at Talladega.
Yeah,
You know,
well, at first, I mean, my interview after, I wish I could go back and re-interview, but like you just pour so much into this sport. Like people don't realize how much it takes from you. I mean, you're traveling, you're on the road, you're away from family. You have to give up so much. Like I said, I didn't go to school the last 3 years. I didn't get to go to like high school like my brother and sister did. Never went to prom. Didn't go to Friday night football games.
right?
Like it didn't. I didn't really have like a big friend group. Like some people might. I do have great friends, but like I wasn't really didn't get to participate in a lot of those things. I gave up a lot of that to pour it into the racing stuff, and even time with my um, fiance now. I give up time and weekends and days, late nights at the shop and things like that, just so that I can participate. So you do have to give up a lot. You pour a lot of passion into the sport,
Right.
and so when you come that close, like we did at Talladega, then it's just like a punch in the gut,
Yeah.
because because you are so passionate about it, and majority of the field is the same way. Like, and you'd give anything just to go out there and win a race,
Yeah.
And when I say anything, they give up
A lot.
literally
Oh yeah.
almost anything. A lot of them would wreck their mom or grandma to win
Yeah.
races, and so I think it's just you just give up so much and give and give and give, and then when it takes back from you just that little bit, that's where you have to go back to your faith,
Mhm.
right? And you have to say like, how lucky am I, man? Like there's about 30 drivers, give or take, full time in every series, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like 120 guys that get to race at Talladega.
Yeah.
Like, and I was one of them, like,
Yeah. Take the blessings when they're
yeah,
there.
take the blessings when they're there,
Yeah. There's some guy probably driving a late model at a short track somewhere that will never get that opportunity, and you got the blessing of having that opportunity. So
Right.
take the blessings when they're there and count them for when they happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good, man. I like that. So in a sport where everything that you do is about speed, performance, um, results, how do you really kind of keep your I mean, you've kind of talked about this a little bit, but this question is kind of more like pointed toward that directly of how do you keep yourself grounded? Like how do you keep yourself really just like strong foundation of this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to stand for, and because there's got to be sometimes opportunities where maybe if you were flashier in your personality, not saying you're a very personable person, but like
Right.
more just kind of crazy, like you see a lot of some of the other younger drivers that get like the bigger, better opportunities or whatever because they're just so more, I guess, flamboyant of how they present themselves or whatever. How do you kind of keep yourself grounded of like, this is what I've been taught, this is what I stand for, and this is who I'm going to be, and not worry about, you know, opportunities that you may miss because you're not as out there as some other drivers may be.
Right. I think it's a good question, but I mean, I think the biggest thing to me is just sticking to my morals and, like I said, honoring the family legacy and just everything that we stand for. It's not really in our DNA to go out and be flashy and flamboyant, and not mine either. Like
Right.
the spotlight is just something that comes with racing. All that stuff aside, I just want to race cars. I just want to go 200 miles an hour faster than anybody else.
Yeah.
Like that the TV and all that stuff. It was just that's not why they started doing it, and that's not why they continued doing it. It wasn't for the flashy, flamboyant airplane rides and
Yeah.
limousines and all that mess. Like, yeah, I'm not, that stuff's great, whatever, but just for the love of the sport and for just the competitiveness and everything that comes with it is really the reason that I continue doing it and that I want to do it. And do I think it would probably help me sometimes to make crazier videos and do stuff like that? Maybe. I don't know. Social
It
media
may
is,
not.
yes,
That may be like, who's this guy? Why is he acting
social
that way?
media has become such a big part of what we do. And it's, I mean, it makes us closer to the fans, which I like about it.
Right.
Because anybody can talk to me, and I want them to feel like they can talk to me because they should be able to. I'm just a person, right?
Right.
But at the same time, some people just are so much better at it than I am, because I do like wakeboard and snowboard and try and do like crazy things with my brother, and I play golf a lot. I don't really put that on there. It's just my first instinct is not to pull out my phone. I like to live in the moment.
Right.
I like to be present, like
In the now.
in the now,
Yeah.
because you just never know. You know, I mean, it's just the truth.
Yeah, they've actually done
Yeah.
studies where they've shown that when there's like a life moment happening, that you remember it better if you just live it.
Yeah.
They did like a study one time where they like looked at these different people and these different life moments, and all the people that had like their phone out recording it didn't really remember what was going on without looking at the video.
Right.
But the people that just lived it, they were like, yeah, man, I remember just this and this.
Yeah.
And then when I looked over to my left, I saw this. So it's like, yeah, that's awesome though,
Yeah.
especially being a younger person in today's time where everything is so connected, for you to just kind of be like, I'm just gonna live in the moment and not really worry about whether or not I've got it posted on social media that I'm doing this or
Yeah.
doing that. So that's awesome to see
I mean,
a younger
if they
person
keep
like
up with
that.
me enough, they know I've done enough of these interviews and talked to enough people. They know like what I like to do and where to find me, and hopefully by now my personality traits and all that good stuff. You know, I don't feel like it's something that I need to put out there every day. You know, I know I know it's hinders me sometimes. A lot of people think I should do those day in the life videos and just show people what I do every day, but I mean, I'm just working like anybody else
right.
would, you know?
Yeah, I think Jim at the fan club one time, I asked him something about you one time, and he's just like, just go to the Petty garage. He's working there when he's not working at the shop on the race car for the weekend or whatever. And I was just
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, so well, you know, so it's like you're accessible to your fans.
right,
That a lot of drivers, once they kind of get to certain points, they kind of lose that.
right.
You know,
I
so
don't ever want it to not be like a personable thing to where you, you know, like you feel like you can't approach me or anything like that. And I don't want anybody to feel that way.
yeah,
I'd rather everybody feel like they can walk up and talk to me and anything, you know? So
yeah, that's good. That's good. So, what would you say to a fellow younger racer? I mean, I say younger, but you're you're only 24. But I just, when you've been doing it for as long as you have, it's kind of like it's hard to remember you're only 24. But what would you say to somebody, maybe my son's age over there, or a little bit, he's 9, so maybe a little bit older, that's kind of trying to get their feet into the ground and racing, and maybe they're also a believer and they have these temptations that come at them with these different things. Like, what kind of advice would you give that driver?
stick after it, man. The biggest thing is just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dream. I don't know how many times I've been told that I need to quit, and that silver spoon comment, and you know, the biggest thing is to find something to lean in, like God. I would suggest God, but find something that fits you to lean in, to go to, because it's not easy. It's hard, just like anything else in life. The older you get, the harder it gets, and just don't give up on yourself. You know, the biggest thing is if you stick with it and you believe in it, then there's no reason it can't happen.
Yeah. So, uh, do you look at, you kind of said this a little bit because you believe that God has you where He wants you to be. So, do you kind of look at your career as a way of helping people, of being there for people? I mean, we know that your family does so much with the Victory Junction camp,
Yeah,
and so much through other kinds of charities and things like that. So, obviously, the family has used racing to do so much for the community and so much just for everybody across the country. But do you, as Thad, see yourself kind of using the career of racing, of being like, this is the mission field that I've kind of been put in? Because I mean, yeah, we have missionaries that go to Africa and all these different things, but we're kind of like our own missionaries too, where we can make impacts in people's lives by how we carry ourselves, what we do to help them, things like that.
Yeah.
Do you see that kind of like the
Oh, for
racing world
sure.
as your mission field?
Absolutely. I think it's mainly the connection, like the amount of people that I've met that have made an impact on my life, and I like to think that I've made an impact on their life.
Right.
Is just, it would have never happened had I not chosen this career path. We had some veterans at Charlotte this year, and they got to spend a lot of time with us, and it was just phenomenal to see how they reacted from what they had been through overseas and whatever else had happened in their life. When they were there, it was just like nothing else mattered. They were all mind blown, and racing really gives you like a platform, I guess.
Yeah.
A platform to talk to people, to just spread the word of God if that's how you choose to do it, and just to make connections and hopefully make impacts on other people's lives.
Yeah, that's good. So, is there any time where somebody comes up to you and just by how you carry yourself, ever just be like, something's different about you? What is it? Like, does that ever happen? Because I mean,
Maybe.
you're not a normal 24-year-old. I do want you to know, at least not any of the 24-year-olds that I've ever, like I said, like most 24-year-olds are like not as, you carry yourself with a very mature persona to be so young. Is there any time people come up to you and just like, what's different about you, Thad? Like, you're just different than most people your
Not
age, or
really.
not really?
If they do, it's just because my red hair was different. No, no, but I don't really ever get the comment that I'm like that much different than the average 24-year-old. But you're forced to grow up and mature quicker when your parents send you across the country at 15, to race
True.
cars.
Yeah.
Like, I had to figure it out, man. Like, my mom and dad were doing their deal, and then they were busy working, whatever. Grandpa was on this side of the world, and little old Thad was doing driving schools in Phoenix, Arizona, and racing in Greenville, South Carolina, and down in Myrtle Beach the next weekend.
Yeah.
And really, the group of guys that I race with kind of raised me a little bit, like um, Mike Cheat, Grumpy was my old crew chief and team owner, and him and Derek and Jeff and Ray and all the guys I raced with back then, Mike, all of them just raised me as their own. And without them, I think that it would have been a little tougher for me,
Right.
probably.
Yeah.
But I think that when you mature quicker when you're put in situations where you have to be mature and make mature decisions. Like
Yeah.
at 16, it was my call to go online so that I could go online school so that I could race.
Right.
They gave me the option if I wanted to continue going to school and being a normal kid, or if I wanted to go
Go
race,
race.
right?
Yeah.
And it was just like that's a tough decision when you're like 15 or 16 years old,
Oh yeah.
right? And
Oh yeah, definitely.
looking back, I made the right one, but like it's just it's a tough decision to make. So I think that just growing up and traveling the world by myself, or the country at least. No, I've been to England and Canada and stuff and a few
Yeah.
times. So yeah, traveling the world and racing cars has just been something that kind of made me mature quicker.
Yeah. So when your career is over, I mean, looking long term future, like at 24, you've got a lot of years ahead of you in the racing world. Like we were talking about before we set up to record, you got guys like Josh Berry that were, they're not old, but by like what is usually considered to be getting into the Cup Series, he's pretty old,
Yeah,
like, but
for a rookie in the Cup Series,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like even
exactly.
SVG. I
Yeah,
mean, coming over, he had a whole different career, and then now he's a rookie in the Cup Series. But so is Riley Herbst, who's like my age.
yeah,
So
right, exactly.
yeah,
So, I mean, you still got a long time to get to the Cup Series, but let's say we're fast forward 25, 30 years, and you're putting a checkered flag is waving on Thad Moffitt's career. What do you kind of legacy do you hope to leave for your kids and grandkids in the future? Because obviously, they'll still have the petty connection themselves, but they're also going to have their direct connection to you.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, we know the faith and all these things and carrying yourself as a good person, but what do you hope people look at when they, in 25, 30 years, when they think about Thad Moffitt? What's your goal for
I
the
feel
future?
like it'd be very similar to what Lee Petty started in 1949. If I have a legacy similar to Richard and Lee and Kyle and Adam and everybody before me, that's a W in my book. That's a win. I want to be successful on the racetrack like they all were, right? That's part of your legacy. The other parts are really big family and faith people, right? And then never treated anybody poorly. You said it, and I didn't make you say it. You said you don't know anybody that says, "Man, I hate Richard Petty. He's a butthole." You know.
Yeah. I don't know where I've ever heard it.
I mean, and Lee, not very many people say it about him. Everything I hear about Adam's positive. I want people to talk about me that way when I get done racing.
Right.
I think that's really the biggest thing for me. Also, being successful on the racetrack, like you said, our sport is very measured by results and speed and everything else. So being successful is a big part of what keeps you racing. So I think being there and just having a long career,
Yeah.
would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a blessing
Yeah.
to have a 25 or 30 something year career.
Right.
At 24, there's no reason why you can't.
Right.
And who knows which path that may go down. I mean, you may go down the NASCAR path and get up into the Cup Series and make a career there, and then who knows, you may become a road racer and go back to the Trans Am Series or do something like that.
Right.
You don't know. You're a racer in your heart.
Right.
You get to do it. I don't. I'm a racer in my heart, but life gave me a different hand to play, and I'm enjoying racing and what I'm doing now with these interviews and stuff. But it's a blessing that you're able to do what you do,
Yeah.
and that it doesn't always have to be the Cup Series. It doesn't
Right.
always have to even be NASCAR. It can be other avenues to
Yeah.
get that fix of that passion of being in a race car and doing what God's put in your heart for you to do.
Yeah. Whatever God leads you to do, right? I mean, you just mentioned him, Josh Berry. Like when I was late model racing, he was late model racing. He was late model racing after I was late model
Right.
racing.
Yeah.
He was late model racing just a few years ago, and now he's
Yeah.
a Cup Series winner.
Yep.
That's really the only difference, man. And the guys that race on Saturday nights and the guys that race on Sunday is they got a shot. They got a shot to go do it. Like there's a lot of guys I know that are really, really good race car drivers that just never really got that opportunity. Like one that comes to mind is Lee Poyam. I mean, he was really, really good. I late model race against him a lot, and I think he would have done well given the right opportunity. So for me, climbing the ladder is something I want to do,
Right.
but I don't want to put myself in a bad situation again.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be on a solid team like a Nitro Motorsports with some manufacturer backing,
Yeah.
with good personnel. So if I make that next jump, I won't do it unless I feel confident in the team's ability and my ability for us to go perform.
Right. That's good. So we'll wrap things up with this, but Thad is part of a big legacy, a big legendary family, but God doesn't call us to live in someone else's life. He can't live in his grandpa's life. He can't live in his uncle's life. He has to live his own life. God doesn't call us to be someone else. He calls us to be who he's called us to be in our hearts. So I want to leave y'all with this is walk out your own legacy while honoring the past and honoring the legacies that may be there. As a racer, a believer, you don't have the name, but you have the passion in your veins to go race a car, you have the family support behind you, and you have the same faith that your grandpa had, that your great grandpa had, that your mom and dad have. So I think that is a great example for younger drivers and even adults, to look to, of just having that determination to keep trying and keep going after your dream, even when it seems like those dreams may fall down, it seems like those things may fall apart. You always step back up and keep fighting.
Right.
And that's something that is a great quality to have, and that is something that will lead to success in the future. It may take some time to get there.
Yeah.
It may take a lot of ups and downs, some teams falling apart, sponsors leaving, whatever it may be. But God's put it in your heart to be on a racetrack, and you're following that dream, and you're not quitting, you're not giving up.
Right.
So that's really commendable. And your last name doesn't have to define your purpose. Your purpose is to be in a race car and to touch people's lives in whatever way God allows you to touch their lives behind the wheel of a car.
Right.
And that, to me, is a blessing.
I agree.
So I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us today. This has been Michael Weiser with FastFaith, where speed meets the spirit. This is Thad Moffitt, and we're here at the Petty Museum and Petty's Garage Performance Shop. I want to thank Thad for letting us come in here and
Absolutely,
letting
man.
us do this interview
Enjoyed
in
it.
person and be here. It's been awesome. So if you don't mind, I'd like to close us in a prayer, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
All right. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for this opportunity to talk about faith, talk about how faith can keep us grounded. And I just want to thank you for a young man like that who stays true to who he is, stays true to the morals and the lessons and the things that he's been taught in life through the wonderful family that he's a part of, Father. We thank you for this opportunity and pray that this time and this discussion and this testimony can touch those who see it, and it can help to change their lives and help them to know you more. We give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
See you next time on Fast Faith, where speed meets the spirit.
This has been Fast Faith with Michael Weiser. A big thanks to Thad for the invite and for sharing his heart with us today right here at the Petty Museum. If you enjoyed this conversation, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more faith-fueled stories from the world of racing. And I'll see you next time on Fast Faith, where speed meets the spirit.